All right. So good morning and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Mirko Notarangelo, marketing strategist at ICAS Corp. I'm excited to open this first of the 4 webinars. ICAS is the host of this online seminar series about technology. I would like to introduce today's speakers, Troy Peterson from SOTER Technologies, and Brian Schilacci and Matt Pomera from Cisco System. Thank you guys for being here. In today's webinar, we are going to talk about IoT, Internet of Things. It is a relatively new internet that is not just about connecting people, but connecting things. Things can interact, speak, and communicate with one another. This is usually done through sensors that work to gather real-time data from surrounding environment. They are also often called detectors. For example, thermostats work through a detector to sense room temperature and humidity and adjust accordingly. IoT also facilitates the shift to remote learning. We will discover more about IoT with our guests during the webinar, but meantime, I would like to briefly introduce ICAS. So I'm going to share my screen with you. It's okay. Let me see. Second. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay, thank you. Thank you for the feedback. So ICAS is a full networking solution provider to the private and public sectors. We provide structured cabling design and implementation, electrical solutions, IT and technical resources, and electronic security systems. You can find, of course, all our services and more information on our website, www.icascorp.com here. I'd like to play a video, a brief video about ICAS. So. Can you hear the audio? No? Thank you. So, but the topic for today is how to protect our schools. So we serve many schools and universities around the country. One of our goals is to support the schools and the parents by creating a safer learning environment for children. More schools are implementing solutions for child safety. This is why we are partnered with Cisco and SOTER Technologies. Now I would like to introduce our first guest and presenter, Troy Peterson from SOTER Technology. If you are, I will stop sharing my screen and sharing.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Troy Peterson with SOTER Technologies. My title is Vice President Business Development, but I'm also involved in sales, and I'm just a general cheerleader for our company. Let me pull up, share my screen. All right, 1 second, I'm sorry. Try this again. So as the screen is coming up, as it should come up, great. Our company is SOTER Technologies. What we are is we're a full service engineering company, and we are concentrated on keeping people and environments safe. And in this application, we're talking about keeping schools safe. If we talk about solder, the name itself, it's inspired by Greek mythology, and it translates to preservation of safety and deliverance from harm. And that's a philosophy, a theme that we carry throughout our working environment, and kind of guides the things that we do here. FlySense is our flagship device, and in the IoT world, what we create are edge devices, intelligent edge devices that can collect and communicate data across platforms and different networks seamlessly. So FlySense is an edge device. It's what we'd like to call an environmental intelligent device. And what it does is collect data from the environment and be able to relay that back to our users. In particular, FlySense is a vape and what we loosely call a bully detection device, and I'll get into that a little bit. FlySense is the ultimate vape detector. What can we do? Well, we can sense vaping, smoke, noise disturbances, which we loosely can refer to as bullying or fighting. And we do this without cameras or recording. Our sensor pack is multifaceted, and right now, what we do is we look for a vaping chemical signature, and when we find that vaping chemical signature, what we could do is send real-time zero delay alerts to administration on call at a school, university, or an organization. And we can do that using SMS, so we can text it right to phones in the area, or we can use email to do that also. And all of this is controlled under a convenient web portal where you can see all your devices across the network and have full maximum control. Some key highlights. It's really easy to install. It's just 2 screws, and you either connect a hard wire or it's Wi-Fi enabled. There's a centralized management system, which is what we call our dashboard, and you can do that using a mobile phone or an iPad or a desktop computer. With our notification system, there's zero delay, and once again, you can use SMS or and there's a limited number of subscribers that we can add on to the system. So you're not limited in how many people can receive notifications, and we can also customize the times and the areas in where they receive those notifications. This is just a small example of the dashboard, and what this is just a picture of all the devices across a particular network and showing the activity there. And this is very useful for alerts and seeing how useful the device is. For instance, We can see that there are different peaks here on this graph, on this graphical representation. But as time goes on, these peaks get smaller and smaller, which shows the effectiveness of the tool in use. Quickly going through, this is just another snapshot of looking at across all of the network, and you can see all the devices. So if there's a problem with the device, we can reboot a device. We can see that all devices are, if you look at device status, all online and in working order, which is a very good thing. One key feature of FlySense is its ability to learn. So right here is just a list of the alerts that have come through. And what we can do is we can classify those alerts. So let's say there was a false alarm. At one point, we were having some issues with like perfumes and Axe body sprays and things like that. But our technology has since learned those environments. But we've learned that through flagging each alarm. So if there was a false alarm, we can flag it and call it Axe body spray. So then next time that same particular chemical signature will not set off an alarm. So we have some artificial intelligence embedded into the device to help it get smarter over time. This is just showing you our different subscribers. Once again, we can add and delete and put as many subscribers as possible. And in terms of customization, if you take a look here, for instance, Administrator Johnny Appleseed, and we can see that he only wants the men's restrooms, the boys' restrooms, and at particular times. So we can customize each person's alert status. So throughout a day, we can say that Johnny Appleseed is only going to receive alerts from particular bathrooms at certain times of the day. And this is throughout our system is completely customizable, and it's a really powerful tool. And one of the things that I'd like to stress is that as a company, we're not trying to find kids with their hands in the cookie jar. What we're trying to do is teach them through education and through a partnership with schools that we can help them create a free campus. That's about it for FlySense. I'd be open for questions at the end, but thank you for your time. And I'm not sure who I'm passing it to, but I'm sure it's either Matt or Brian. So thank you. And
thank you, Troy.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks for coming in
Troy.
at the last minute. We appreciate it. And yeah, you figure process of elimination, it would have to be either Brian, so you're right. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and those who are going to watch it on the recording. We're excited to bring this series. We appreciate ICAS's invite, and ICAS always has a special place in my heart. So I'm really excited to partner up with them and SOTER. So I'm very excited today to have Brian. He goes by Shalacy, but we like to call him Scalacci since he's Italian. He's a killer presenter. Real excited to have him, and happy to turn it over to him right now.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Good morning, everybody. Today, I'll be talking about the Internet of Things and what that means to schools in particular. And really, we could spend a lot of the topics I'm going to cover. We could spend, a couple of hours going over each. But I wanted to give you a really good overview of what IoT actually is and what does it mean to introduce IoT in creating safer, efficient, and connected schools. And then go over what we're doing to bridge the digital divide with COVID. We've seen a lot of students without connectivity and some of the things that we can do in that space. And then I'll wrap up with some recommendations and open to any questions after the presentation, or feel free to reach out to any of the folks on the call. So if you're bored, you can go to Wikipedia and type in the search Internet of Things, and you'll get this really one pager on everything you wanted to know about Internet of Things. But to put it short, the Internet of Things is really the network performing a job. It's transporting data from devices and different devices. They could be sensors, they can be cameras, and then doing something with that data to really solve a problem and make your operations much easier and making your school safer. So it's really all about connectivity and then the data that we're getting from that device and doing something with it. And we really break it up into three different elements: the information technology, the operation technology, and consumer technology. And the one thing or two things that really that all of these have in common is, one, the need for connectivity. And then as we add more devices, so Troy was showing the FlySense vape detector, right? That's a device that I'm adding to the network. And as I add more and more devices to the network, I introduce, all kinds of vulnerabilities, depending on how secure your network is or how secure that device you're installing. So to give you just kind of an overview of these three elements, I'll start with consumer technology, because today in your home, you probably have IoT devices, right? So we can see we have a Nest thermostat, an Alexa, a Ring doorbell, a Philips light, right? They all have the one thing in common with connectivity. But the true power in IoT is when I can connect these things together and do something with, something with it to, in this case, maybe enhance security. So if I have somebody come up to my doorbell and I capture them on camera, I want to use some mechanism maybe to trigger the light outside to make it brighter or turn it on. So I really am taking a lighting domain and then a physical security domain and then tying those together. That's really the power in IoT. From an operations technology perspective, this is where we really get into the facility side of the house. So today I'll talk a little bit about PoE lighting. So in the top left-hand corner, you see that 2x2 light. Being able to connect a light to the network. There's a Delta HVAC controller there that can be powered by PoE. Once I get all of these systems online, now I can get the data from those systems and make intelligent decisions. I can respond to issues very quickly and, really enhance the operations and security of my environment. And then from an information technology perspective, really this is where Cisco plays. We're providing the connectivity and the security for bringing all of these IoT devices online. So you might have a mix of different technologies for the sensors you're deploying, whether it's traditional Wi-Fi that you have in your building today, or I want to connect something with an Ethernet cable to my Cisco switch in the closet, I can do that. But there may be another solution or a sensor that you want to buy. Maybe it's a leak detection sensor that I want to put in my boiler room of the school. Maybe I want to use a different technology like for that. And within IoT, we do have different technologies like LoRaWAN, for instance, where I could install, one gateway and possibly cover an entire school. And it's, more cost effective and more efficient. So we have a, big range of products in our portfolio. The sensors, Cisco and ICAS, we could help you determine, what sensor makes sense from a third party. But the back-end infrastructure and security could be provided by Cisco to help you deploy that. So when we talk about smart buildings, so these are the pillars that we focus on. We want to build a foundation and compliance in what we call the fourth utility, and I'll go over a little bit of what that means. And decarbonization and sustainability. Safety and security is big. We've been doing that for a long time. So Troy talks about the FlySense. We include that in the safety and security bucket. And we want to make sure that all these devices that we're connecting are secure as well from a cybersecurity perspective. Automation and optimization is when really I'm installing all of these devices. I really want to be able to securely onboard those devices and be able to manage and monitor them over time. And then as those devices are connected, I want to use them to optimize my environment And I apologize for the background noise. I have a building going up next door. It sounds like an earthquake in my basement, so I apologize.
I got to
The
tell you, it's pretty good though, as far as the suppression on your system. So
oh, good,
you really
excellent.
heard that well. So
That's good. I feel better now. Thank you. The also asset management. So if I want to track things, I can track everything from laptops to users to maybe my facilities has their own equipment. I can do that through some of these systems and track those assets. And I'll get into not so much tracking users, but being able to detect things like density. Maybe I have a COVID rule in place where, I don't want to exceed 9 people in a given area. How can I alert on that? And then the user experience. This has been overlooked for a long time. We've been seeing more of it in the commercial space, making the workplace more exciting to be able to come into the office and customize my environment based on whatever my preferences are. And then also space utilization. What rooms are being utilized more than others? Maybe I can turn this classroom that's underutilized or is being used for something else. I can turn that around and make it into a different space. So being able to do all of that through technology. So this really takes a shift in design, and I've been involved in a number of these projects, and I'll tell you the number one thing that I see is a lot of times facilities is somewhat aware of some of the new technologies, but a lot of times a lot of architects and engineering firms they may be aware of the technology, but they don't have the experience on the actual design and implementation of this. So that's where we can help. We can come in and help educate them, help educate your staff. And again, it doesn't have to everything be done overnight. A lot of these projects are more of a journey, but building this, base, really eliminating the duplicity and waste. And we do that through Convergence. So on the left-hand side, you can see I have my building services network. I might have a separate network for physical security. I might have a separate network for lighting. We want to converge all those, and that just builds efficiencies. It helps with operations. I'm not having to maintain all of these different networks. It also allows me to do that intercommunication that I was talking about earlier, makes that much easier, and then also be able to secure the network and devices much easier. So that's really where we're headed. We're already doing it in the commercial space, and I have a couple of K-12 customers that I'm working with where, really one of the first projects that we typically go to on a building project would be like lighting, for instance. So the way we're doing that is, you could power a PoE light with 30 watts of power, but now we're manufacturing switches with 90 watts of power. You might say, what can I use 90 watts of power for, right? I mean, a typical access point is either 15 or 30, and then a light is, even less than that. But we're seeing more and more devices come out like video displays, so your digital signage boards, even the standing desks that can raise up and down are being powered by 90 watts of power. And I think over time you'll even start to see laptops and other devices being able to be powered by the network. So one of the benefits here is the ability to just run a low voltage cable as a cost savings, whether it's a brownfield environment or a new building going up. A typical cost to run a Romex cable for a light is around $200, and I have to have an electrical, certified electrician run that cable. I can now just run a low voltage, Cat 5, Cat 6 cable to my device or devices, and it's much cheaper on the build out. And then once that device is connected, now I can get the data from it and do those things I was talking about earlier, like the domain communication. So being able to adjust the lighting, based on preferences, being able to control blinds in a room, and doing things around safety, security as well. So the use case here, again, PoE lighting. This is just an example of where we have our digital building switch. So there's no fans in this switch, and it can be mounted in the plenum. In this case, it's mounted directly to the concrete floor above. And from here, we just run PoE out to either, lighting gateways or the lights themselves. And now I can take a look at my energy savings, and I can even apply for grants prior to the project. So from NYSERDA, as an example, where I can get grants to deploy some of these technologies, and then I can monitor that energy use over time. And there's an inherent cost savings just in going to LED, but then now I can monitor exactly what I'm saving and show whatever grant I'm applying for that, this is working, and I have something tangible that I could show them. So from a safety and security perspective, Troy had mentioned the FlySense detector, whether it's vape or aggressive audio detection. It's really taking this converged infrastructure. I want to integrate the applications, and then I want to customize workflow so I can respond faster and more efficiently. So two examples that I use all the time is, if I had a vape sensor in the bathroom, because that's typically where the student might go, I can't put a camera in the bathroom, but I can put a camera outside the bathroom. So I want to create a trigger that says, okay, vape has been detected. I want to take snapshots or tag the video as the user walks out of the bathroom. And at the same time, I can send an alert to a phone, like Troy had mentioned, an SMS or an email, or with single wire and Formacast and a Cisco phone, I can send that alert right to the phone as well. So that's one example. Second example I use, and I know ICAS delivers, audio solutions. There's been studies where the audio enhancement in a classroom can enhance the student's learning if the teacher is wearing a lapel mic and it's not a loud broadcast, but the audio is just enhanced a little bit and it improves learning. So I don't need a separate system to do this. I can use the same system that I'm using for my PA to be able to enhance that experience. So I'm getting two, benefits out of a single solution. And these are just examples. There are many of them. It really depends on whatever school district challenges that you might be facing. But this is how we're combining these technologies on a converged network to make things easier and safer. And this is an example of what we're doing with COVID. So I could take my cameras in my building and I can take my wireless network and I can tell you the density, if you're approaching a density threshold, if I have users gathering in a certain area and they're not practicing social distancing, or I want to do it for the whole building, maybe the building has a threshold on the number of visitors, we can detect that. And we can do, I don't like to call it contact tracing, but we can somewhat follow where users have been if they're connected to the network. If they're not connected to the network and they just have a phone in their pocket, one of the use cases that I like to talk about is if I have a shooter in the building, for instance, and I have cameras in the hallways, but typically I don't have cameras in the classroom. So when first responders show up on site, they may have access to the cameras, but they can't see where students and teachers and staff might be hunkered down in a classroom. I can use the same system, whether the users are connected to the network or not. As long as they have a phone in their pocket and their Wi-Fi is on, I can actually pinpoint, what classroom they're in, and I can send my first responders there to get them out safely. And from a facilities perspective, there's tons of sensors on the market today. So whatever use case facilities might be facing, I know mold detection in some schools is very important, or leak detection. Schools, at least in my area, have been shut down because leaks or floods in the boiler room. So putting these very low cost sensors in there can mean I can respond quicker. And then also I don't have to shut down the school for a day, right? Because I have somebody there right away to fix the problem. But there's just a sensor for everything, and they're low cost and can be deployed relatively easily. And then the last thing I'll just cover is what we call the digital divide. And with COVID, we've seen students, mostly in low income areas, a lot of, very rural areas that don't have access to the internet. We have a couple of solutions to help bridge that digital divide. One of them, I'll skip this slide because most of the folks on the call are educators, so they know this exists and they've lived it through COVID. one of the solutions that we offer is just extending the network from the school building out to areas where students don't have coverage. So for instance, if I have a school building and I have a neighborhood in the area, or I have a partnership with the community or the service provider, we can easily extend the network using point-to-point technology to a pole in that area or poles in that area, and offer Wi-Fi services to those. And again, this isn't a silver bullet for the digital divide. This is just one solution we can offer. We have solutions around cellular. We have solutions around in-home devices. But this is one that's just very easy to deploy, and it could be a public area. It can be a housing complex, you name it. So these are available, these solutions, and typically what we'll do is we meet with the district. They'll give us a list of addresses where students don't have access. And then we'll just do a pre-planning study for you at no charge. Take a quick look at how we can accomplish this. And if we can do it with point-to-point technology, we do it. And then if not, we look at other solutions. But that is something that we offer. And recommendations and wrap up. So how do I prepare for the evolution of this smart school? It's really understanding, the physical and technical challenges, educating the staff, and that really means bringing IT and facilities together recommended prior to I'm bringing in architects and engineering firms, so at least the folks within the district are all on the same page. And then if the architects need any type of education around this, or engineering firms, then we can come in and actually explain a lot how these technologies work, what the benefit is, and then work with your architects and engineering firms. But a secure programmable network infrastructure is a must when we deploy these solutions. So we want to make sure that it is secure, because we are adding a lot more devices to the network. And then align your organization with partners like ICAS and SOTER to help you with these deployments, and making sure that they're knowledgeable in all of the domains. And some of the opportunities, really, bridge the digital divide, create a secure, safe environment for students and staff, and then enhance that user experience. Strengthen the partnership between schools and municipalities. So with all of the funding that's coming around digital divide projects, there's the infrastructure bill coming, right? Let's partner with municipalities and not recreate the wheel. So using one network for everything if possible. Enhance safety and security through automation, and then really make the school a fun place to learn. Workforce development, I mentioned. I've worked with BOCES in upstate New York, where they did deploy LED lighting, PoE, and we got their engineering class involved and helped with the deployment. So now, the kids in that class are now up to speed on some of the latest technologies in smart buildings. So there's some benefits there as well. And that's all I have. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for your input, your insighted presentation. And this brings today's webinar to close. And thank you to our guests and the presenters, so Troy Peterson, Brian Schillaci, and Matt Pomara. We'd like to thank everyone for attending, and hope to see all of you at the next webinar. Thank you and take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.